right, man. Galatasaray and Juve just ended, man. What a game. I think we might want to start there actually because Juventus fought really hard, and honestly, we can even start with this stupid red card. This red card is not a red card, okay? Lloyd Kelly was just jumping up, right? And for me, if you're a defender jumping up, right, it is not the defender's job. It doesn't even matter if you're a defender, but whoever the player is jumping up, it is not their job to make sure their landing space is clear. It is other players' jobs to get out of their landing space. Simple as that, right? You'd see it often when two players or when a player goes up for a ball that's in the air for a long ball, right? Whenever the opposing player goes behind that player who's jumping up and they like put their back into them or their elbow into them a little bit while they're in the air, right? That's always a foul, and the jumping player gets given that free kick. Why would that principle change because this guy fell down in the landing space of Lloyd Kelly, right? That's totally not Lloyd Kelly's fault. He has no responsibility there. That guy, if you're gonna fall, you need to fall outside of that. Like, you know what I mean? You cannot put your foot there. That's just totally inadvertent and not, what else is Lloyd Kelly supposed to do? The guy puts his foot there and like you're in the air, like it's hard to control yourself right there. So I don't like to see it, man. It honestly reminds me of basketball. Like, matter of fact, let me pull something up real quick. Let me pull something up. Okay, so what I have here is a basketball clip, and you just let me cook, okay? Stay with me. All right. If you know basketball, you might have seen this before, right? This is Zaza Pachulia in the Warriors shirt. Warriors. I don't even know what number he's wearing, but the Warriors in the Warriors shirt right here in the blue shoes. And it's Kawhi Leonard with the ball. Spurs shirt number 2, right? Now this is basically Lloyd Kelly and what happened with that Galatasaray player. Right there. Right there. Lloyd Kelly. Let's say this is Lloyd Kelly in the air. Let me move my stupid window. This is Lloyd Kelly in the air, right? Okay, you're with me, yeah. Lloyd Kelly's this guy in the black jersey, and this is a Galatasaray player, right? Here, you cannot move into his landing space and then just be like, yeah, that's is that on Kawhi? Is that on Lloyd Kelly? No, and obviously this is a little bit different because Kawhi ends up getting hurt here, not the other way around like how it was in the game. But at the end of the day, this ended up changing the rules in the NBA, right? Where you can't be in a guy's landing space. And I think that's something you're going to have to start considering in soccer if you're going to start giving red cards for penalties or for, fouls, fouls like that, right? It just doesn't make sense to me how that's a red card. I don't like that. I don't like to see that in the game, man. I really don't. Anyway, let's get back to the game though, because they get done dirty at this point when Lloyd Kelly gets the red card. Juve is 1-0 up, and at Galatasaray did not look great. Juve had multiple chances actually throughout the game to get goals, and I think they had 5 or something xG. Yeah, they had 5 xG. Like they really could have left this game, at least with more goals, but and we could be talking about a different result. But you know, they went down to 10. Galatasaray, you're thinking, all right, 10 men, you got a whole half. You still have 2 goals to come back from. No way, no way they could do that. But that Galatasaray defense, man, Davison Sanchez somehow has a 7.6. Buddy, not on my watch. Hell no. Bardach has a green rating. That's insane to me. You gotta get out of here, man. Get out of here, man. I mean, this is genuinely ridiculous stuff. Look, the Galatasaray defense was poor, man. It really was. I really thought Galatasaray were going to crumble, and they almost did. And that red card probably saved them. If Juve had 11, we're probably talking about a different result here. Genuinely, that's what I believe. But Juve ended up coming back with Gatti, and then McKennie on the back post header. Gatti came off of like a cross, a deflected cross. But man, when this went to extra time, and Juve had a few opportunities to actually win the game, or they won the game, but to win the tie, right? I remember Shagrova had a few chances, man, and like that's the problem with Juve, right? They brought in all of these attackers, but they never made the difference in the final third, really. and that's probably why they didn't win. They didn't qualify today. In addition to obviously the red card, right? But when they didn't, capitalize on those opportunities in the 90, when they went to extra time, I just felt like it kind of got away from Juve because they're just too tired with 10 men. You could only go so hard for so long. And, 10 men for a half, that's one thing. But then you have another 30 minutes to go. And they were just never going to get there. Osimhen uh, put the first dagger in, and then Yilmaz put the last, closed it up. And Galatasaray are on to the round of 16. That draw is going to be interesting, man, because if we're going, it'll be interesting because the way I look at teams and like, matter of fact, let's save this for the end because I think this is really going to be the interesting part of the video. I'm going to save that for the end, but that draw is going to be really intriguing and we'll get there. All right, let's talk about PSG Monaco, man. My team, bro. My team PSG, bro. We're out, bro. We qualified, but we're out. Like that's how I feel. The defense is too inconsistent. Our wingers are, Bradley Barcola is dangerous, but he's not showing enough end product. Kvara is hit or miss right now, man. And when he's off his game, he's so off. Like today, very off. And he scored today, by the way, but he was very off. Like he wasn't, this tricky, hard to mark winger that when he is at his best. And I think it has to do a little bit with him being on the right hand side, sure, but he's not as dangerous. And he played on the right hand side, I believe, versus Atalanta earlier this Champions League, and was absolutely incredible. But we're not seeing enough of that, man. And obviously, no Dembele hurts, and Fabian Ruiz adds more, chemistry in that midfield and control and vision. But even like if we had them, I don't know. I don't know if we can win this thing. I really don't think we can. Marquinhos today, very, very hit or miss for me. I did not really like his performance today, especially defensively. I thought a lot of the choices he made left us like really vulnerable. He was being aggressive, but recklessly so, like at the wrong times. He's following his marker in, but like he's going in at such the worst time possible that basically the guy has enough time to find the pass and get behind our whole defense, and suddenly we're scrambling again and again and again. That's like, man, like this is not what champions do, bro. This is not what you like to see. We qualified, right? And not only did we qualify, we were down 1-0. We came back, and no thanks due to the red card, right? But you know, I tweeted this: teams from now on won't be as undisciplined as Monaco, and I had a few people tweet me back like, "Yo, Chelsea and Barca are definitely undisciplined, man. Barca will definitely be undisciplined. Chelsea will definitely be reckless in tackles." And I hear that, but they have the quality to get over that. Monaco doesn't, and that's what I mean. We're gonna face teams who, yeah, they'll have a red card, but they can still see it out, right? They can see it out. Chelsea could see it out. Or if Barca gets a red card, well, actually, we know what happened that last time they got a red card. But you know what I mean, right? This is not what champions. This is not how they perform, man. This is not how champions perform. I don't know, man. And kudos to Monaco. You know, they fought really hard. I think they've got their mojo back at the very least. They're mid-table in the league right now in Liga. They're eighth, but what they've done the last 3 games, they performed well against us twice, and then they beat Lens, the league leaders at the time. That's very good performances and something, they can build off. As far as I think they have a chance to get into the 4th spot. I think they're 6 points off the 4th spot. We'll see. Let me just check. Yeah, so you're 6 points off of UCL qualifiers, and like if you can get the right results, that's easily achievable, right? A lot of these guys here are facing each other. There's a lot of 6-pointers here, so it's going to be a dogfight as far as Ligue 1 is concerned, and they have enough to turn their season around. I truly believe that. On the other hand, for PSG, man, if you want to win this thing, you gotta get right now. Like this is it. This is it. No looking back after this. Okay, you put performances like this, you're out. The teams will knock you out next time, right? This is the last time you can phone it in like this, man. You can blame a lot of people, but I just don't know. I don't really know the main issue with the team, right? Like there's not just one thing you can fix. It's like there's a collective, you know, drag around the whole squad. That's what it is, and I don't know how you fix that. Like, what do you do? Is it just a lack of hunger? We're sextuple champions. You know, we've won 7 trophies in the last 12, 13 months. What else can we do? Like what else? Like how do we get these players moving right again? I don't know. I really don't. You know, the challenge of going back to back is so hard because you have to stay as hungry. But how do you get hungry, man? Like how do you if you're Luis Enrique, what do you tell your players, bro? Like you can't just be like, "Yeah, man, you guys can be treble Madrid or three-peat Madrid." You know that, right? Like is that enough? I don't know if that's enough, man. And World Cup year as well and all that, but it's we're just living life on the edge. Simple as that, man. And eventually, I think we're gonna fall, and sooner rather than later. Good on us for qualifying. You know, nice to see Dro get some minutes, but really an unremarkable performance, man. One that leaves you with more questions than answers. In all honesty, a lot more doubt than assurance, and it sucks. It sucks to see my team like this because I know how good we can be, man. And I just don't know how we get there because it's not a. I don't know if it's a. I don't think it's a skill issue. I don't think it's a technical. Guys are in the wrong spot or being misprofiled. I think it's a mental thing, and those are so much harder. And I don't. We don't have it. There's no transfer, right? We can't just bring in someone. So what do you do, man? I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know, man. It's just I don't know. Maybe you do three at the back, but that's too drastic of a change. Now you're saying you're abandoning principles. If you go three at the back, you're abandoning principles. So I don't know what we can do to get us going and driving again, but we got to figure out something. We need a spark. We need a spark and badly. And the thing for us is we're back top of the league. No cup, so we got some more rest in between than compared to last year. You know, Usman Dembele might be back for the round of 16, maybe. I don't know how bad his injury is. Obviously his injury history and those kinds of injuries are tricky. Ruiz, Mayulu, not that one person makes the difference, although maybe with Dembele it does, but with Ruiz back in midfield, there's just better vision, right? I think we're more incisive. He'll find a more incisive pass compared to Warren Zaire Emery. On the other hand, Mayulu and Dembele, they at least in the false nine, they offer, more fluidity and more central, spaces or central concentration, right, of play. And Due, not a bad false nine, but he's gonna go more towards the sides, I think, and he's gonna find a side and kind of shade there a little more often. Whereas instead of dropping deep, where you maybe Mayulu and Dembele drop deep more and can find those passes, and even Mayulu in particular can change and swap with João Neves in the false nine, and that's tough to mark, right? So it's a lot of I don't know, it's a lot of questions for this team. It's like we're good, but how do we get better? You know, because this is not our best level. But how do we play our best level? This is really the question. How do we play? How do we be playing our best level consistently? Like, how do we get that? And is that possible? And if it's not possible to play consistently, can we just bring it out? For UCL games, that would be nice. But man, this team, man, this team. All right, let me get to the other ones because I could wax poetic about this all day. Real Madrid, Benfica, man. I gotta be honest, being totally subjective here, justice was served. I love to see Vinny score his goal and dance, man. You know, the way Benfica have been acting ever since that incident has just really rubbed me the wrong way. I think a lot of people feel rubbed the wrong way about Benfica right now, man. Like to act as if you're some perfect club with a perfect history. And I loved Company's speech about Eusebio and all of these things that Benfica have just been trying to portray about them that seems so fake and so, tone deaf. I like to see Vinny score that goal and dance, man, and send them home because some things are bigger than football. But to serve justice through football is a funny concept, but I think that's what happened today. That's really how I feel. And Benfica went up early, and you're thinking Madrid might crumble. No Jude, no Mbappe, but Chouameni, man, that goal was nice. A lot of finesse, trailing run, finesses it bottom right corner, and then Vinny did the same for his goal 1v1. And this was the worst Benfica of the last 5 years. I think my prediction was Madrid to win 3-1. And they won 2-1, but yeah, I just didn't think Benfica had enough final third quality. Yeah, I think oh, let me not forget about this Atalanta Dortmund game. But before that, let's close the chapter on this Madrid game. Madrid got a few injuries from here. Asensio and Camavinga collided, man. I thought that was a scary injury. Rudiger also had a collision too with Carreras, but he was fine to continue. But yeah, man, I'll see how long Asensio's out because like I said, I still don't think Madrid's an elite team. I don't rate them as an elite team, but when if they can find their guys in their bright spots 2 or 3 times a game, that might just be enough to get past certain teams, right? If you can find Vinny 1v1 twice a game, you should get one goal out of that, right? If you find Mbappe 1v1 twice a game, you should get one goal out of that. And the teams they'll play will give them those spaces because those teams are more daring and braver and will take it to Madrid. But whenever you take it to a team, you're obviously leaving space in the back. So it'll be tough. Madrid. I don't think Madrid's defense can hold, no matter who's in there. Rudiger, Asensio, Alaba, Huijsen, right? But they gotta, with individual brilliance, there's always hope. I thought that Gonzalo Garcia would have a bigger impact this game, but I think Mbappe's going to be out for a while, so he'll have his opportunities. And yeah, I mean, like I said, there'll be teams that'll give him that space, man. But Madrid move on to the round of 16. Nice win, nice win in the Bernabeu. I'm choking up a lot recently, man. I gotta start hydrating my voice, but yeah, nice win in the Bernabeu. All right, now let's get to this Atalanta Dortmund game. Absolutely insane, man. When this game started, I was very taken aback by how good, like how loud the atmosphere was at Atalanta Stadium, New Balance Arena. Man, I'm thinking to myself after listening to that crowd, like in the first minute or two, I'm like, if Atalanta just get one, they might be good to go. Like they'll get one, and maybe that's what the coach told them, right? Just get one, and then maybe 2, 3, 4 will come, right? And 4 did come, and that last goal in particular, right? Well, even before that, right? They were up 2-0 at half. Zappacosta, it was like a deflected goal. Kobel had no chance. But when they went up 2-0, I'm like, man, they could do this. And then they go up 3-0 with Pasalic. I'm thinking to myself, man, Dortmund have completely crumbled here, completely capitulated, and Dortmund bring one back with Adeyemi, and all of a sudden we're 3-3. I'm thinking, all right, Dortmund can see this out for penalties. Maybe I don't know if they have enough quality to win the game, but penalties. But nah, man, that kick at the last, oh my gosh, man, that was just bad play from Dortmund, and really the whole game they were really flat-footed, so they were lucky to even find that goal from Adeyemi, but yeah, that's just bad. You can't really complain, man. It's a high boot, and whenever you put your boot up that high, that's a risk you're taking. That's just a risk you're taking. And for Dortmund, it's tough, but they're like the European Tottenham. I didn't want to say it, but that's what it feels like. They're the German Tottenham, really, because Tottenham's still in the UCL, but you can't trust this team. They never do it. Like they just never do it. It's funny because they beat us in that semifinal a few years ago, but then they go to that final in Wembley versus Madrid, right? And they had a bunch of chances in the first half. This is basically the same team in that final, by the way, right? Right? And they had a bunch of chances in the first half, and they didn't put Madrid away, and then Madrid ended up winning that. And it's just like, why? Why? How does that happen to Dortmund, man? That club is cursed. But honestly, it's a bad passage of play, right? Kobel tries to play it out to his right-hand defender, and it's just a very slow pass. Atalanta steals it, crosses it in, and it's cleared poorly. And it's, you know, maybe it's tiredness, fatigue, right? But it's very poor clearance that forces you to use a high boot to clear instead of, you know, clearing with your head. It's rough, man. That's rough, and very well deserved penalty. Samardzic puts it away cleanly, and Atalanta saving face for Italian football, the only Italian team now in the round of 16. But man, we were piling on Italian football. A lot of people were piling on Italian football, right? Serie A, it's over. I know that's what I said, but Serie A, we thought it, you know, people were saying Serie A was not even a top three league, and you know all of this stuff, right? This crazy stuff. Atalanta righted the wrongs of Italian football teams because you have the seventh placed team in Italy pretty much handing belts to the second place team in Germany, and you know that's good enough. I think that'll definitely, you know, calm the agendas. You feel me? Douse some of the flames. Now you're looking at Atalanta. That draw is going to be incredible because you know Atalanta also beat Chelsea, so I give them a chance. You know, against an Arsenal possibly. Um, Not really, but that stadium is very nice. Okay, and I think for Atalanta to get this win was huge, obviously for them, but also for Italian football. But now let's talk about these knockouts, man, because I am very intrigued. This draw on Friday is going to be incredible. All right, let's start from the right. Let's start from the right, okay? I don't want to start from the top. I want to start from the bottom because the top, you know, I got a lot to say about the top. Bayern and Arsenal versus Leverkusen or versus Atalanta. You know, if you get a Bayern and a Leverkusen, I think it's pretty, you know, rudimentary, elementary. GG. Either way, it's a GG. To be honest, but it'll be tough. You know, I think it's just one of those games where you would imagine like a Bayern or Arsenal win 2-0 on the road and then they win maybe 3-1 at home type of deal, right? It's one of those things. And for Atalanta, I think they'll give a little bit tougher of a fight than Leverkusen, but it's still pretty much, you know, a very professional 2-0 win you're expecting from Arsenal or Bayern. I think everyone has Arsenal and Bayern going through to their quarterfinals. Now, let's talk about this right here, man. This third row right here, or second row, however you want to count it. Let's start from the right again. Bodo Glimt, man. This Bodo Glimt team is incredible. This Bodo Glimt team has the opportunity, the chance to do something like we haven't seen really since, you could say Villarreal, but Villarreal I think has a lot bigger of a budget compared to Bodo Glimt at that time, right? Like what's it like, maybe Porto 2004, like that's what we're looking at. And I don't think they'll go as far as to win the Champions League the way Porto did, but we could be looking at something like that, man. I think if for Bodo Glimt, you probably want Sporting. You know, you don't want to go Pep Guardiola versus Pep Guardiola in UCL knockouts. You know, Sporting a lot more, for lack of a better term, they're just weaker, right? It's a lot more winnable. And Bodo Glimt, man, you know, their home stadium's tough to play in, right? It's tough to play in Norway, and I think they can get past Sporting. I really do. And Sporting is not a bad team. Obviously, they beat PSG this season, and they're top eight for a reason. But this Bodo Glimt side, man, there's something fierce. They are something fierce, bro. On the other hand, that would leave us with Madrid City. Um, and you know, I don't know if these are predictions. Like, I can't predict the draw. Really, I don't see the point in that. But if you had a Madrid City, you know, I think City would take that easily. You know, I don't know if Mbappe will be back. I don't know if that helps or hurts Madrid either because, right, if you don't have Mbappe, okay, now you have a more balanced defense and pressing team. But if you do have Mbappe, you have more offensive threat. So we'll see what that does. You know, if Madrid ended up getting Sporting, that'll be interesting to get two Portuguese teams back to back. I'd imagine Madrid to win that still because I think the aura of Madrid is like a real thing. Like I think when you're especially a significantly smaller club like a Sporting, right? Like Sporting is smaller than Benfica, even, right? So that's a lot for them to deal with. And at the end of the day, football is played on the pitch, but that's still something that runs through players' minds, right? The opportunity to to beat Madrid, right? And oftentimes you'll see smaller teams have the opportunity to beat Madrid, and then they get in front of goal, and the occasion gets in their head, and they go for that glory of, hey, I scored against Madrid, and they often make the wrong decisions in front of goals. Like, you can look at games, and that happens a lot, right? So it'll be interesting. I think obviously for Madrid, you want to take Sporting, but I don't know. If Sporting play like to their potential, like, and Madrid play as they've been playing, I could see Sporting getting past that, But I'd imagine, just depending on if Madrid gets Sporting or not, that'll basically decide if they go into the quarterfinals. If they get City, no chance. Sporting, I'd still give them a chance. All right, let's get to the top because this is what we're here for. Galatasaray, Liverpool, or Spurs. This is what I was talking about earlier. This being so interesting because Galatasaray and Spurs are obviously closer in level, so that would make for a better entertaining tie, I think. And I think Galatasaray would probably win that. Maybe, I don't know. It's tough to tell. It's tough to tell. Liverpool, I give him no chance, man. I give him no chance. But Spurs, I give him a shot. And then on the other hand, that would leave Atleti. Let's say Atleti go with Liverpool, right? That would be a tough game. It's tough with Atleti because they've been so inconsistent, but when they play at their best, I think they can beat Liverpool, who have looked very, very uninspiring. But at the same time, Liverpool still have Ekatike. They still have, Salah if he shows up this season. Verts, right? Like, these are still good players, still have a good defense. Konate's actually been playing very well back there. I don't know. It'll be tough. I don't know, man. That's like a 50-50 tie right there, genuinely. On the other hand, if they get Spurs, I think Atleti walk Spurs, no problem. That's like a 2-0, I maybe even a 3-0. But yeah, I don't see Spurs really advancing easily. This, which is funny, because I think Spurs had such an easy schedule, right? So, and the way they've been performing in the Prem, it's like no one can trust Spurs right now. But that'll make for some very interesting ties because the way Spurs are fighting for relegation, and then at the same time, not only you're fighting to get out of relegation, but now you're trying to play UCL knockouts. It's an insane situation to be in. But all right, let's get to the top. Newcastle versus Chelsea or Barcelona. That's going to be such a great tie, man, especially at St. James Park. And Newcastle have been very good. Obviously, they lost to City not too long ago, but outside of that, very good results, right? And for Newcastle, it's tough because Newcastle are in the mid-table of the Premier League, so like they're obviously going to be trying to qualify for Europe in the Premier League. But then again, it's like you have Chelsea, you have Barcelona, and Chelsea is also kind of in the same boat as Newcastle, right? Trying to get that top five position. But I don't know, man. This Newcastle team looks tough to beat. I wouldn't want to face them, really. I really wouldn't. And we did face them, right? We drew 1-1, PSG and us, but PSG and them rather. But yeah, I don't know, man. If you put them against Barca, I think they Barca have Rafinha back and Lewandowski, of course, but the way Barca defend, it's like any team has a chance. Really, it's always gonna be a shootout. With Chelsea, you know, Chelsea have great players, but I don't know if I trust the coach enough yet. I don't know. I thought it was too early for him to go to Chelsea, and he's not been doing a bad job. But then there's also the point with Chelsea being, a little bit young and undisciplined, right? And that might come up to bite them in these kinds of knockout games. But Chelsea have a lot of talent. I don't know. I don't know how that would go. Really true 50-50 ties. And then on the left, PSG versus Barca, PSG versus Chelsea. I'm going to tell you right now, PSG are not getting past around of 16. We're not getting past around of 16, man. Yeah, Barca and Chelsea might be undisciplined. Barca might, leave you gaps in behind, bro. But at the same time, man, this PSG team is not trustworthy, bro. You can trust Barca to score. I can't say the same about PSG. You can trust Chelsea to score. I can't say the same about PSG, man. And obviously, PSG Chelsea got some memories to it, right? In the Club World Cup final, and even like in the mid 2010s, that was like the UCL tie, right? PSG Chelsea every year. On the other hand, PSG Barca also happened this year, so there's like some rivalry like feelings around these games, but the way PSG are playing, you just cannot say that this team is good enough to beat Barca or Chelsea over two legs. I really believe that. And it's tough for me to say. Like, I can barely get it out, but that's just how I feel, man. But we'll check on Friday, man. These ties should be fun. I think it's very like you're looking at this, and I think actually like it's pretty easy to see who's gonna win this competition. I think it's Arsenal or Bayern, and that's it. You know, it'll be down to how good City are, but I don't think City could get like the way their draw is. I don't know if City's gonna beat Arsenal over two legs, and I don't think City can beat Bayern over two legs. And that's the tough part. And I think everyone else is just getting wait to be beat by these two teams. Simple as that, man. But yeah. Thank you guys for watching, man. It's been your boy Ollie Buddy. Make sure you guys subscribe. Hit the hype. Hit the hype button. That's also important to do. Apparently, I don't really know what it does, but apparently it gives me more hype. So make sure you hit that. Until next time, man. It's been your boy Ollie Footy. We out.